All these people know one thing, it's something the mainstream are hiding from you. All these people know how important building a brand is. So in this video, you will learn the 5 steps I'm taking to build a brand that makes billions. You can do all 5 yourself because the biggest brand in history used them. Let me know if you know who that is. And everyone you saw at the start of this video agrees with all 5 of them. But I need to warn you, this works for evil and for good. So to defeat the system, actively taking all nowhere, use this for good, not for evil. Before you learn the 5 steps, let me show you how powerful a brand is with a quick game. I'm going to show you 3 pictures, you tell me what you think of. When you think of politicians, what comes to mind? For me, liars. Because every few years we hear politicians make these big promises but not do them, right? All politicians are not liars, but with branding, that doesn't matter. Imagine a bag with 100 balls inside. If 5 of the balls stand out more than the other 95, the brand will come from the 5, not the majority. This is why we remember the most memorable, not always the majority or the best. When you think of Nike, what comes to mind? Success, the best, winning. Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman did create a successful trainer company, but the brand doesn't come from them. Most don't even know who Phil Knight or Bill Bowerman are, because the system actively trying to program you since birth doesn't want you to know rich people. Nike's brand comes from seeing people like Jordan, Ronaldo and Serena win. Every time your favorite athletes win wearing Nike, it connects Nike with winning. So if you want to win as an athlete, you wear Nike, right? When you think of Floyd Mayweather, what comes to mind? Money and the best ever? TBE, right? And this is where it gets interesting. I've teased it on the last 2, but what I said triggered you in one way or the other. I will talk about the power of this later in the video because it's so important. But don't miss this. The thing about brand is it does not have to be true. When I said the best ever with Floyd Money Mayweather, did you think yes he is or no he isn't? Floyd is a master at branding. He branded himself as Floyd Money Mayweather. In this phase, he showcased money as much as possible. Money, houses, jets, cars. But to develop that brand, he started focusing on TBE, the best ever. He repeated it in interviews, on merch, in the ring by winning. He repeated it until others said it. How do you decide who is the best boxer ever? It's almost impossible, but something repeated loud is how brands get built. I mentioned people use brand for evil or good. Hitler used this for evil. He got everyone to wear his special badge on clothes, and he repeated Germans with blonde hair and blue eyes were superior. It wasn't true, but you know the history. But I speak about this a little in my video about making $10,000 or more a month. When you do the wrong things, even if you have some success, it's only a matter of time before you get defeated. And that's what happened to Hitler. When I started dressing more like my brand, people started asking me things like, where are you going? Are you going somewhere special? The questions were a little annoying because I wanted to dress like this for a long time. I dressed like this for seasons in the past, but always went back. But what did I do this time? I kept dressing on brand to the point the questions stopped. And then you will see after the questions stop, the questions change. You're starting to see how effective a brand is, right? Now, before I give you the 5 steps based on the biggest brand in history, I have one more question for you. And this is the most important question of them all. When people think about you, what comes to mind? That is your brand. People either think good things about you or bad things based on what you say or do, or what you don't say or do. The 5 steps I'm going to share with you will help you build a brand based on the biggest brand in history. Who is that? I expect loads of Jesus comments and extra points for you if you posted the comment before I said it. But Jesus has the biggest brand in history by far. So I'm copying what he did in my business to build something successful. You should too if you want to learn from the best. You'd be a fool not to, because only losers don't want to learn from the best, right? So I'm going to give you the 5 things, plus what to do to help make this even easier for you if you're struggling. Number 1, the best and biggest brands help people. The reason Jesus is so effective is because he helps people to the point where whether you believe Jesus as Lord or not, he helps you every day. There are 4 ways to build your brand by helping people. Your brand builds by making things easy. Easy to understand, easier to do, think easy. Jesus went around saying, I'm here to help. and he helped people. He helps people solve spiritual problems like salvation from sin. He helps with everyday problems like identity issues, anxiety, health, and wealth. This video is 5 steps in 12 minutes, not 50 steps in 12 minutes. My book is 50 life-changing success secrets, and I don't say results in one day. I say for the best results, read it over 1 year. That's 1 success secret a week. Easy. The easier you make things, the bigger your brand will be. Your brand builds by being relatable. Jesus went around and told these stories about seeds and fish and money. These are all things people know. Even children know what these are. Relatable stories which help you see greater reality. There's a reason I mention politicians, Nike, Mayweather, and Jesus. You know them, don't you? And it helps you understand the journey this video is taking you on. If I don't talk about things that we both know, it's much harder for me to help you. I'm reminded of Steve Jobs' introduction of the iPhone. It's a phone, an iPod in one. He didn't say, you can now install an operating system and then download hundreds of applications, and this will give you the capabilities to upload 10 gigabytes worth of audio files. But he said something simple like this. You can make calls, listen to hundreds of songs. It was all relatable. Your brand builds by making things shareable. Jesus was so relatable, it makes it easier for others to share. Giving you 5 steps makes it easy for you to share and say, watch this, I've never seen branding explained this way. Your brand builds by getting results. Jesus went around and fixed things. You can look at any Christian following Jesus and see the transformation, because following what he says works. This is why I only give you things that I know work, because when you do them, you get results. This is why I only show you things that work, because when you see them, the results are proof I'm telling you the truth. When I say Jesus is the biggest brand in history, I'm 100% confident you can't think of a brand bigger. And if you want to be the best, it makes sense to learn from the best, doesn't it? Before I give you step 2, one way to do this better is by asking yourself every morning, how can I help the people I see today? When it came to this video, I kept asking, how can I make this easy, relatable, shareable, and get you more results? It helps make this an even better video for you. Step number 2, the best and biggest brands divide. This is the hardest for most people to accept, but think back to what I said about Floyd Mayweather and the best ever. Floyd divided. People said yes or people said no, but people said something. If you are doing anything worth value, you will have enemies. Most are afraid to say or do anything to upset people, but this is what builds a brand. Jesus' message was not accepted by everyone. He had enemies. Think about it like you debate Apple or Android, or who is winning the NBA championship or the Super Bowl. You take complete ownership of it. Don't be afraid in the same way to take ownership of what you believe. Because when you stay quiet, that's not competing. It's like getting in the ring with Mike Tyson and just keeping your hands down and letting him punch your head off. These are the areas you are getting dominated by your enemies. I will tell you more about my brand in a moment, but one of my enemies is the system actively taking all nowhere. I mentioned this in my video about imposter syndrome. I mention my enemies often, and I say things to expose them all the time. Everything that I say gets liked or disliked by the people who hear me. And it's not because I'm looking for trouble. I own my beliefs and I'm aware not everyone agrees, and that's fine, because truth is all that matters. So when I say Jesus is the biggest brand ever, if you study this and still say no, I know you are not interested in truth, because you don't need to be a Christian to admit this. When I say the system doesn't want you to study wealthy people like Phil Knight or Bill Bowerman, there's a reason most schools today don't teach wealth creation or things like branding or presenting or logic. These are things you should be learning from a young age, but the system keeps this from you. Another one of my enemies are losers. You may be in a losing position, but this does not make you a loser unless you let it. That is what a loser is. The system wants you to think by suffering defeat, you are a loser. That is why it takes people nowhere. But by you watching this video, this is a sign you are not a loser. By wanting to improve is a sign you are not a loser. I started this video by saying I'm using these steps to build a better brand. That means I do not have the level of brand I want yet, but I'm not a loser. I would only be a loser if I did nothing. So if you have no ambition to win, that is who my enemy is, and they will hate my videos. They will leave nasty comments, and that's fine. The faster you see to build a brand, you need enemies. It's relaxing to be yourself. and let them cast the first stones. My brand, and feel free to roast me, specific. I want you to think the Bible can help you build your profitable business, but even greater than that, it can help you improve everything. And that's why my book helps people build a profitable business with life-changing success secrets in the Bible, but even greater, in the same way in every area of your life. It's kind of like how you can sync your iPhone, your iPad and MacBook to have the same things across devices. One system is working across all devices. The book shows you how to do the same thing to improve business, health, relationships, and all else. This is how I'm building my brand. This is why this video focuses on Jesus. He's the best example for the topic, but I also use other examples to help you understand. He did all 5 points, and when you watch anything on branding, they will agree with him. When you think about me, I also want you to think about winning. So I help you win. I share my wins and I share other people winning. Before I give you step 3, one way to do this better is by asking yourself often, who are my enemies or who are my friends? When it came to making this video for you, I kept asking myself, who are my enemies? Who are my friends? Because by thinking about this, everyone on the other side is my friend or my enemy. This helps make this an even better video for you. Step number 3, the best and biggest brands stay the same. Your brand builds by being consistent. Jesus went around saying and doing the same thing everywhere. He did not say one thing for one group and something completely different for another group of people. An important Bible verse about branding is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8. It says, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. You know what that means? He's reliable. You can count on him to be exactly the same every time. It's like ordering your best meal at a restaurant, but every time it tasted different. That's what it feels like when your brand is not consistent. The people seeing you won't know what to expect, so they will find someone who they know what to expect from. I said earlier, people were asking me questions about clothes I was wearing. They were right to ask those questions because it was different to what they knew before. I used a passage like Hebrews chapter 13 verse 8 to help me, because what you look like is part of your brand. This doesn't mean you have to wear a suit. What it means is dress like the person you want to be. But regardless of how that looks, you should be presentable. If people look at you and think you can't take care of yourself, the next thought will be, you can't take care of my problem. They will find somebody who can. So I take this verse and ask myself, how can I say and do the same things all the time? Right now, this channel is not getting a lot of views. There's times I felt like quitting, but then I'd become my enemy. It's like the Matrix, where Agent Smith, he goes around turning everyone into a copy of him.
You. Yes, me. Me.
That's what the system wants. People like us to stop, give in, and become an agent hunting down Neo. But you are the one. You are the only one with your special abilities, so use them. Before I give you step 4, one way to do this better is by asking yourself, what is one thing I am doing right now that goes against the brand that I want? Or what is one thing I can do to align with the brand that I do want? When making this, I kept asking, how can I make this like my other content, my other products, and meeting me in person? I then add things I talk about on a daily basis: Jesus, sports, business, and so on. It helps make this an even better video for you, doesn't it? Number 4, the best and biggest brands take risks. Your brand builds by taking risks, but not silly risk with far greater reward. Jesus went around saying things that could get him killed, but he knew getting crucified to save the world was worth it. Do you know how many business owners believe in Jesus, but will never mention him out of fear? But I try to do less things based on fear as time goes on, so I don't worry about the doors closing. I focus and find joy in the doors opening wide for me from people who want the best opportunity to win in life. Because the more I'm me, the more people I will help win will appear. But when I hide, it's like standing at the airport where loads of people are waiting, but I have a sign that says, I'm not Israel. Before I give you step 5, one way to do this better is by asking yourself, what risks am I taking for my brand, and what reward will come from it? When it came to making this video for you, I kept asking myself, what risks will you take? In this video, I'm mentioning my enemies. That is a risk. It got a little political at the start. That's a risk. I'm mentioning the Bible. That's a risk. These are risks I'm taking to help you improve your brand, and it helps make this an even better video for you. Number 5, the best and biggest brands believe they are worth it. Your brand builds by believing it's worth it, so others can too. The reason the disciples were able to suffer or die was because they believed Jesus rose from the dead. Nothing else makes sense. Jesus was on trial and people lied about him. He knew he was right. He knew he was the truth, so the lies didn't matter. He did not need validation from the outside to do what he was doing. This is why I gave the example in my last video about the Tesla going back in time or the Leonardo da Vinci painting. I want you to see who you truly are, because when you do, it's game over for the system. When you realize what you are fighting for is worth it, don't get surprised when people are trying to stop you. But they can't stop you. They can only get you to believe they can. But it prepares you for their attacks. So many people think success is like just driving down a clear road, but it's more like running a race with hurdles. You can jump over the hurdles, but if you stop in front of them or don't jump with all your ability, you won't get over. But you have what it takes to jump over every hurdle in your life. One way to do this better is asking yourself, how do I know Israel is telling the truth when he says I'm worth it? Watch this next, because it shows you 10 reasons why you are worth it and empowers you to be your best self in every area of your life. And what I share in that video made this video better for you. So go in and God bless.